They said there wasn't enough room for me on the boat, Emma said quietly. She remembered the text from her mum, short and final. The family was going on a cruise, but they had already filled the boat. No extra space. She had smiled at her phone, typed a polite, "No worries," and sent it. Then she sat alone in her room, staring at the wall, her stomach heavy and cold. Emma had always tried to be understanding. Maybe it really was full. Maybe someone made a mistake with the booking. Maybe next time. She told herself these things, again and again, even as her chest ached with something she didn't want to name. Later that night, scrolling through Instagram, her heart dropped. Her sister Madison had posted a story. Sunlight on blue water, champagne glasses, matching swimsuits. Emma clicked through each one. Her parents were there, smiling. Her brother Derek laughed into the camera. The boat was huge. Space everywhere. Wide deck. Empty seats. In one picture, Emma froze. There was Madison again, arm around someone. Emma looked closer. It was Liam, her ex-boyfriend. They'd broken up just 3 months ago. The breakup was messy, full of late-night calls, unanswered messages, and long silences. It had hurt, a lot, and now he was smiling on her family's boat, standing next to her sister like he belonged. Emma sat perfectly still, phone still in her hand. It wasn't just that they didn't have space. They just didn't want her there. They made space for Liam. That meant someone invited him. That meant they knew and said nothing to her. Her face felt hot. Her throat closed. She wasn't angry yet. She was just broken. She opened Madison's page. The tags confirmed it. Liam had been there for days. There were videos of him joking with Derek, laughing with her dad, sipping wine with her mom. They had welcomed him. Emma felt like a ghost, watching a family that used to be hers, a family that had no room for her anymore. She sat back in her chair, tears she didn't expect slipping out. This wasn't a small mistake. This wasn't a forgotten text or bad planning. This was on purpose. They had lied, and they had replaced her. Emma stared at the screen for a long time, then turned her phone over. Something inside her shifted. A quiet voice whispered that this had been happening for years. Just smaller, fewer calls, missed invites, being asked for help but never thanked, always the one to forgive, always the one left out. She looked up at the ceiling. She didn't know what she was going to do yet, but something had cracked open. They didn't want her on the boat. They didn't think she would notice, but she did. Emma sat alone, thinking about everything. This wasn't the first time her family had left her out. It had happened before. Missed invites, forgotten plans, but this time felt worse. Something deep inside her had changed. She remembered how she had always been the one helping. When Madison forgot something important, Emma fixed it. When Derek messed up, she covered for him. When her parents were too busy, she stepped in without being asked. She didn't complain. She thought that being helpful would make her feel loved, but it didn't. Madison was always praised. Everyone called her brilliant and beautiful. She got special treatment, the nicest gifts, the most attention. Derek made mistakes, but they called him fun and full of personality. Emma, she was quiet, steady, always doing the work others didn't want to do. No one clapped for that. She thought about family dinners. She was always the one clearing plates, setting the table, checking on others. They took pictures without her, laughed at jokes she didn't understand. She sat nearby, always watching, always waiting to be noticed. She had spent years telling herself that being the helper mattered, that her family did care, that one day they would realize how much she did for them. But now, after being left off the boat, she saw it clearly. It wasn't about space. It was about how little they valued her. Madison was the golden child. Derek, the lovable mess. Emma was just the one who kept things going. She was the background, easy to ignore. She had done so much, given so much, and it still wasn't enough to be included. They didn't need her anymore, so they left her behind. It stung in a way she couldn't describe. She had always put her family first. Now she wondered if they had ever done the same for her. For a long time she believed love had to be earned, that if she worked hard enough, they would see her. But all she got in return was silence. Now she finally saw the truth. She had been useful, but never important, and that truth hurt more than anything. She stared at the phone, trying to believe it wasn't real, but the pictures were clear. Her sister stood beside someone who should never have been there, someone who used to hold her hand, call her late at night, tell her he loved her. Only a few months had passed since the breakup, and now he was smiling with her family, looking like he belonged. In one photo, he had his arm around her sister. In another, he laughed with the others, holding a drink and leaning back like he had known them forever. The comments told the rest of the story. People called them a cute couple. Some used heart emojis. A few even said things like, "Finally," or "You two make sense." It hit like a wave. They had been together in secret. The hiding, the quiet looks, the strange feeling in her gut near the end of her relationship. It all made sense now. She had felt something was off back then, but told herself not to be jealous, not to imagine. Now she realized it had already started before her own relationship ended. As she scrolled further, it became obvious that this wasn't a last-minute invite. He had been part of the plan. He was in too many photos, too comfortable, too close to everyone. There were videos of him playing games with the family, sitting at dinner, even helping to carry bags. This had been going on for a while. She tried to breathe, but everything felt tight. It wasn't just being left off the trip. It was being pushed out of a space she once held, replaced, forgotten. Her spot was filled by someone who had broken her heart, and it seemed like no one cared how that would make her feel. The worst part wasn't the pictures. It wasn't even the fact that her sister had started dating him. It was knowing that the others had let it happen. No one had told her. No one had checked in. They had smiled and played along, knowing she would find out eventually. That kind of silence wasn't just hurtful, it was a choice. She closed the app, phone resting in her lap. Her hands were cold. Her mind kept repeating the same thought. They all knew, and they still let it happen. She had been shut out, not by accident, but by design. And now, she couldn't unsee the truth. She didn't say anything right away. Instead, she started asking quiet questions. A short message here, a simple text there. Nothing too direct at first. Just small things. Little chances for the truth to come out on its own. She sent a message asking how the trip went. One person replied with a simple, "It was nice." Another said, "Sorry it didn't work out this time." She waited, hoping someone would explain, maybe even apologize. But no one did. When she asked why there wasn't space, the answers all sounded the same. "It was a logistics thing," one said. "We weren't sure about the booking," said another. Someone else told her, "We thought you were too busy with work anyway." She knew those weren't real answers, just excuses. There had been more than enough room. She had seen it with her own eyes. The large deck, the empty chairs, the extra guest who should never have been there. And yet they acted like nothing was wrong. She tried again. This time, she asked more directly if someone had invited him. Her sister replied with, "It just happened." No detail, no emotion, like it wasn't a big deal. Another family member said, "You're reading too much into it." Her mother told her she was being too sensitive, that she was imagining problems that weren't there. She felt like she was talking into the wind. Every answer felt like a twist. Every word seemed meant to confuse her, to make her question herself. But she wasn't confused. She knew the truth. They were trying to make her doubt it. She checked the dates again, looked through the photos, the tags, the comments. Everything lined up. The plan had been made. People had known. They had invited him, welcomed him, smiled beside him, all while saying nothing to her. She thought maybe her father would say something, give a real answer, or at least show that he cared. But he didn't reply at all. Not a word. Just silence. She sat with the phone in her hand, screen dimming as no more messages came in. Her chest felt heavy, not with sadness anymore, but with clarity. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a mix-up. It wasn't one person forgetting to include her. They had all played a part. All stayed quiet. All watched her get pushed out. And now, when she asked for the truth, they lied, right to her face. The story they gave her was neat and polite. But the truth was sharp and ugly. They had chosen him. They had left her. And none of them felt sorry. The room felt colder than before. Silence pressed in from every side. Messages on the screen blamed, dismissed, twisted truth. Each line said the same thing. Stop feeling, stop asking, stop remembering. It wasn't their fault. It never was. Eyes scanned each sentence. Slowly, clarity replaced confusion. This wasn't overthinking. This wasn't mood swings. These were decisions. Deliberate, repeated, hurtful. They had made space for others, but never for the one who stayed kind, patient, steady. An old notebook waited in the drawer, filled with years of memories, pages covered in small things no one noticed, help given without request, support offered without credit, mistakes forgiven, events missed, feelings buried, not out of weakness, but love. Every page carried proof. Times someone needed comfort and got it. Times chaos took over and someone cleaned it up. Days when no one remembered, but someone showed up anyway. The writing told a quiet story of loyalty, of always showing up, of never being asked how it felt. Each memory added strength. The pattern couldn't be denied. Every time something good happened, someone else was celebrated. Every time something went wrong, one person was expected to fix it. Invisible effort, expected silence. The pen touched fresh paper, not for sadness, for action. Lines formed quickly, dates, conversations, broken promises. No more protecting those who never protected in return. No more shrinking. No more hoping they would finally understand. Messages were saved, photos reviewed, plans built, every step designed with care. Nothing rushed, nothing loud. Calm, sharp truth, the kind that couldn't be twisted. No shouting, no begging, no explaining. Truth stood tall on its own, the weight of it stronger than any excuse. No more hiding behind fake smiles or half-hearted words. Strength wasn't in yelling or proving worth. It was in remembering facts, trusting feelings, and standing firm. Every act of kindness remained, every wrong moment recorded, every cold reply stored. This wasn't about getting even. It was about ending the lie. The story they told was one-sided. That ended now. What came next would be quiet, honest, unstoppable. No need for revenge, no desire for pain, just light, real, and full. Peace wouldn't come from their approval. It never had. The chapter ahead belonged to the one who waited, watched, and finally chose to stop waiting. She sat on the edge of the bed, thinking about everything. Faces, words, silence. It all made sense now. The way they acted, the way they pushed her aside. It wasn't just carelessness. It felt planned. Like they wanted her far away. Not just from the trip, from everything. Then a memory came back. A small moment from 2 years ago. A quiet afternoon. Her grandfather's tired eyes, his calm voice. He handed her an envelope. He smiled gently and said, "Open this only when you truly feel alone." She had kept it tucked away in a drawer, untouched. That moment felt like yesterday now. She walked slowly to her desk and opened the drawer. The envelope was still there, yellowed at the edges, still sealed. Her hands shook a little as she opened it. Inside she found a letter and another paper. The note was short. He wrote that he always saw how she was treated. He said he trusted her more than anyone else, that she had the heart, the strength, and the wisdom to carry something forward. She paused, then unfolded the other paper. It was a copy of a legal document. At the top, bold words read, "Revised Last Will and Testament." Her eyes scanned the lines. She read slowly, carefully. Her name appeared again and again. Property, shares, full rights to certain decisions in the family company. The wording was clear. She sat in silence, holding the paper tightly. Questions filled her mind. Why hadn't anyone told her about this? Why did no one mention it after the funeral? How long had they kept this secret? They must have known. There was no other reason for their behavior. The fake kindness, the missing invite, the quiet stares, all of it had a purpose. They didn't just forget her. They pushed her out because they saw her as a threat. This wasn't about a missed boat trip anymore. This was bigger, deeper. It was about power, control, and keeping her unaware. They had treated her like nothing while hiding something that proved the opposite. Her heart didn't race. Her thoughts were clear. Everything added up now. The way they looked at her, the lies, the silence. They had planned to leave her behind, not only from one vacation, but from everything that mattered. Now the truth was in her hands. She wasn't small. She wasn't weak. She wasn't forgotten. She had been chosen, and now she knew why. She didn't speak to anyone about what she had found. No calls, no texts, no hint of what was coming. Instead, she opened her laptop and searched for someone who could help. A name appeared, someone with a strong background and good reviews. She made the call, her voice calm, her decision firm. A meeting was arranged. Papers were shown, questions asked. The lawyer listened closely, taking notes and giving advice. Everything in the will was legal, clear, and powerful. Her right to take charge was protected. What they had hidden from her could no longer be kept in the dark. She started collecting proof. Every message that made her doubt herself was saved. Screenshots of posts, group chats, private replies. Nothing was missed. She went through old emails, family threads, even business reports. Slowly, a full picture formed. It showed how she had been pushed out, misled, and ignored on purpose. No fights, no warnings. She stayed quiet. Let them believe she was still hurt, still unsure. It gave her time to move carefully. No one saw what was building behind the scenes. Bank details showed changes in spending. Certain amounts didn't match company records. She saved those too. Notes from past meetings, comments during phone calls, even slips made in texts. All collected and stored. Piece by piece, the truth became hard to deny. She didn't act out of anger. This was about fairness, about standing up for herself after being kept in the dark. They had laughed, celebrated, and moved forward without her. Now it was her turn. The lawyer filed documents. Papers were sent out. Official letters arrived at their doors. Each one carried her name in bold. Each one reminded them she was no longer in the shadows. Whispers began. Calls were made. Messages filled her inbox. Some were polite, some full of panic. She answered none. Her silence said enough. Those who had once looked down on her were now unsure. Their carefully shaped image began to crack. Friends noticed. Business partners asked questions. Rumors started to spread. Stories didn't match up. The family who once acted united now faced a different truth, one they couldn't control, one built on facts, not feelings. She didn't rush. Each step taken with care, each move backed with truth. Control wasn't taken by force. It was claimed with quiet strength and clear rights. Now, everything was changing, and no one could stop it. She sent out messages, asking everyone to come over for dinner. No one knew what it was really for. They thought it was just a normal evening. They came dressed well, smiling, pretending everything was fine. She greeted them kindly, offered food, and waited until they were all sitting. Then she stood. Her voice stayed calm. She thanked them for coming, then said she had something important to share. One by one, she showed printed papers, messages they had sent behind her back, notes from the business, letters they had ignored. Eyes widened, hands shook. She pressed play on her phone. A clear voice filled the room. Laughter, jokes, unkind words. Her sister's voice, talking to someone else about the boat, mocking her, saying she wouldn't notice, saying she didn't belong. The room went quiet, then noise broke out, talking over each other, questions, excuses. Some said it wasn't real, others blamed stress. A few stayed silent, faces turned red, voices rose, but she didn't flinch. Not once. She raised her hand. Everyone stopped. Then she said the final part. She told them about the will, about the lawyer, about the papers already signed. She explained how she now held the power. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. The news hit them hard. Shock spread across the table. One started crying. Another got angry. One looked away, unable to speak. But she didn't move. No anger, no joy, just quiet truth. Then she gave them a choice. Tell the truth to everyone, or lose what they cared about. No more access, no more free help. If they wanted anything, they would need to go through her. No one knew what to say. They had always seen her as soft, easy to ignore. Now, they saw someone else, someone stronger. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The facts spoke louder than any shout ever could. Plates stayed full, glasses untouched. No one ate after that. She stood up, thanked them again, and walked out of the room. Behind her, the family sat in silence, facing the truth they could no longer run from. She chose the same boat they had used before. This time, she didn't feel left out. She was the one sending invitations. Only true friends got them, the ones who listened, cared, and never treated her like she didn't matter. They accepted with joy, excited to join her on the water. The sun was bright, the sky clear. Music played softly, laughter filled the air. Everyone felt welcome. No secrets, no tension, no masks, just people who saw her worth and never forgot it. Before the trip began, she posted a photo. It showed her smiling on the deck, surrounded by the sea and real friends. The caption was simple but strong. Turns out there's plenty of room when you stop making space for fake people. That one line spoke louder than anything else. Her message caught attention. People liked, shared, and commented. Some guessed what it meant. Others knew the story already. Then she shared the full truth, but not under her name. A new account was made. No face, no direct names, just facts, dates, screenshots, a timeline of what really happened, the photos that proved the boat had space, the words used to leave her out, the recording of the jokes, the letter from her grandfather, every detail added carefully, with nothing made up. The post spread fast. People couldn't stop reading. Comments poured in. Support, shock, and anger at the unfairness. Some readers even figured out who the family was. Suddenly, the ones who had laughed at her became silent. Their friends saw the truth. Business partners asked questions. Some even stepped away from deals. The image they worked hard to protect fell apart piece by piece. No one knew the account belonged to her. She never said a word. She didn't need credit. She had nothing to prove. While others tried to fix their reputation, she enjoyed the peace. The waves moved gently under the boat. Her friends clapped as the sun dipped into the sea. They toasted to honesty, growth, and starting fresh. Far away, the people who once looked down on her now felt the weight of their actions. And she finally felt light. She packed her belongings slowly, one box at a time. No loud words, no long explanations. Just quiet hands and steady steps. A new home waited, calm, clean, and free. She didn't tell anyone where she was headed. She didn't need to. Her decision was final. The office, once filled with noise and confusion, now welcomed a steady hand. She walked in with quiet purpose. No introductions were needed. Her actions spoke louder than anything else. She made small changes, fixed broken systems, and listened to the people who worked hard every day. Slowly, everything improved. Clients returned. Calls were answered. Plans were completed. Those around her noticed the shift. She didn't explain the past. She didn't mention the hurt. She kept her focus forward and let her work speak for itself. Soon, messages started coming in. Long notes, short calls, awkward requests. Faces from before reached out with soft voices and careful words. They asked for help. Some wanted money. Others wanted support. She read each message, but her answer was always the same. Go through the right process. Nothing special. No favors. They came in person too, eyes lowered, hands open. Once confident, now unsure. They asked again. She stayed polite, but firm. She sent them to the proper office, where all other requests were handled, just like anyone else. She never raised her voice. She didn't show anger. She didn't speak about the past. She had done what she needed. Now, peace mattered more than anything. Work filled her days. She arrived early, stayed focused, and left with a clear mind. The business grew stronger. Staff felt seen. She built something that reflected who she was, steady, honest, and brave. Outside that world, she stayed quiet. No looking back, no checking updates. What was gone stayed there, not because of hate, but because she had finally let go. One evening, she stood at her window, watching the sky change color. A soft breeze touched her face. She didn't smile, but she felt something warm inside, something calm and sure. She whispered to herself, not loud enough for anyone else, "I didn't break their ship. I stepped away and made my own." Do you think she made the right choice by walking away and building her own life? Or should she have forgiven them and tried to fix things? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear what you think. And if you're into stories about revenge, strength, and quiet victories, make sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new one.